this video, I am going to show you how to finish off your open tote. Your open tote consists of sides and a bottom and handles, and it's fairly simple to make. You have channel stitched your bag body already. Now you've left your 1 inch on each side open with no stitching on it, and I'll show you why in just a minute. You want to sew your binding to the outside of your bag body. So this is the side that doesn't have that overlapped piece of fabric on it. So I start sewing about 4 inches, maybe 5 inches in from the end of the binding, and you'll want to trim your salvages off your binding. So you'll start sewing and you'll miter your corners all the way around, and when you get to the end you're going to overlap. I'm going to put this so it's facing me. You're going to overlap the beginning and the end 1/4 inch. This is to make a binding that will perfectly fit this edge. You're going to place your 2 binding strips right sides together, like that. And now we're going to move to the sewing machine because I'm going to stitch that and finish putting the binding on. So I am going to move over here and make sure my thread is long enough, and I'm going to sew this seam with 1/4 inch seam allowance. Clip your threads. I'm just going to go ahead and break them, but I'll be good and use my scissors. Remove the pins, and now this binding right here perfectly fits that edge. So you can go ahead and stitch that on right through to the end, using your 1/4 inch seam. So you've bound the edge of your open tote. Now I'm moving back to the table. And you're going to clip these threads right here. The next step is you're going to flip this binding to the other side of your bag, and that will be the inside of your bag body. So flip that to the other side so it looks like this. Then you're going to stitch all the way around very, very close to the edge. So that's a neat finish on the inside. These stitches are about 1/2 inch away from your last seam line. So when you flip it to the outside, you have a consistent seam line every 1/2 inch. So we're going to set this aside while we make the bottom. We'll be back to it in a minute. Now on the bottom, this is the bottom of your tote, and it's made with a double-sided fusible stiff interfacing, and you're going to use the template that comes in your pattern. I recommend that you trace that template onto template plastic, and I like the gridded kind of template plastic. So you are going to fuse, this is your stiff interfacing, you're going to fuse fabric to one side of your stiff interfacing. Now you are making 2 of these bottoms, and then we'll put them wrong sides together. Just fuse fabric to one side of the interfacing. Use your template to cut your bottom out, and then you're going to bind it. You're going to use a 1 1/4 inch binding, and just use one layer. You're not going to fold it in half. Fold the beginning of the binding down about 1/2 inch. Stitch all the way around, and you want to stitch very slowly around these curves. When you cut your binding across the straight of grain, you've got a little stretch in it, so it should move right around this edge very easily. Don't pull on your fabric as you're doing it. Just let your fabric ride right along all the way around. So stitch all the way around, overlap the beginning and the end, and this end does not have to be folded. It will be hidden under this when we flip it to the back. So you're going to just flip this binding to the back, and then you're going to iron this binding to the back of your bottom. And remember, you're going to make 2 of these. Now, because this is double-sided, it actually, the binding will actually fuse to the back. For good measure, now I want to go back and just make sure that's nice and stiff around that curve. Okay. There. And you can, if you've made a mistake and you haven't pulled it tight enough, you can just pull that right off the fusible and go back and fuse it again. So then on the front, what you want to do is iron that. So it's going to be nice and flat, and the nice steam iron is good. Let it cool, because right now it is stuck to, and we're using parchment paper under here. That's why the parchment paper is on the ironing board. So then you let it cool a little bit, and you will place these 2 bottoms together. Use your clover clips, because this will be a little thick. Use your clover clips to pin them. And you want to clip all the way around. Then you're going to stitch in the ditch all the way around, like we have on this one. So there's my stitching. Also in the template, in your pattern, there's going to be an arrow at the center front. You'll want to stick a pin in there so that when we go to pin the sides to the bottom, we're going to use that as our center place. So here you have the sides. What you're going to do is you're going to simply wrap them around like this, creating a cylinder. And just place a pin in the center someplace to hold them together. That's going to move a little bit. Match that pin in the center with this vertical, and this is the bottom of your bag, with this vertical binding. And then you're just going to take a pin, see if I can get that to sit right up there. I'm going to use a flower pin so you can see what I'm doing. You're going to pin straight down and straight into that front binding. You're going to continue to pin, about every inch. And again, you're just going through the very edge of the bottom, just the fabric, and down into the sides of the bag. I'll do one more and I'll show you one that's all finished. There. So when you're done pinning, you're going to have one that looks like this. It's pinned all the way around. And then you're simply going to whip stitch. You can just use one layer of thread and just go all the way around, whip stitching the bottom to the sides. And you want to whip stitch this first layer of your bottom to the sides. And I'm going to show you on this bag what I mean by whip stitching. Can you see where the little stitches right there? Right along there? where I've whip stitched this bag together. So that's what you're going to do. Go all the way around the bottom of the bag, and then with an in and out type stitch, I call it a ladder stitch, but you're just going in and out, in and out, in and out. Attach these two pieces together, or you can actually whip stitch up along this edge right here. Then you're going to just go across the top, and you'll be all done adding the bottom to the sides. The very last piece will be your handles. And to make your handles, it's just strips of fabric, so you're going to cut your strips according to the pattern direction. Now you'll want to sew, you'll want to fold your handle strips in half lengthwise and stitch down the long edge with a 1/4 of an inch seam. Rotate that seam on each end so it is sitting in the center of the handle and stitch across. You'll do that on both ends. That finishes the ends. Now you've got to turn that right side out. So what you'll do is snip a few stitches in the center, and you're going to use a Turn-It-All tool. A Turn-It-All tool consists of a straw and a skewer, and comes in a couple of different sizes, 3 different sizes. So slide the straw part inside your handle strip and push the end out. Then use the little tool that comes with the Turn-It-All to push the corners of the handle out. Don't push it out too far. You don't want any raw edges showing. So you'll do that with the other end. Push it through. And then you're going to iron this flat. Once you've ironed it flat, you are going to fold it in half like this, and you are going to stitch from 1 inch in from this end to 1 inch in from this end. So you've created a handle that looks like this, and you can see the little tabs on either end. Those tabs are where you're going to attach your handles to the bags. So you have something that looks like this, and you're going to make 2 handles, one for the front and then one for the back. Last but not least, you're going to embellish the front with buttons or beads or whatever you'd like, and you're all done.